What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Facebook Live of Podcast Success Secrets. We're on a roll. This is my second in a day. On Friday, we got Jim Edwards coming in, which is going to be really fun. I guess this week is just all copywriters, man. We got great copywriters all day. And I didn't realize, but this morning I was looking at the charts. I've been ranking in the top 500 of marketing in the US. So that's pretty awesome, guys. So I really appreciate you guys, sharing the podcast, dropping ratings and reviews. That means a lot. If you're on the live right now, give me hashtag live. If you're on the replay, give me hashtag replay. But so I'm excited to introduce you guys to Sean Kemp. He's helped a lot of people with their online copywriting and marketing strategies, specifically direct response. And you've attributed to over 10 million in sales from your work that you've done, correct?
Correct.
And so let's just get into it, man. I'm curious to know, if you had to explain to someone who's listening, like what you do and why you're awesome, what would you say?
What I'm able to do, I'm really bad at bragging. So
Yeah. I remember this too. I think on Andrew Cruise's interview, you said that you weren't raised to be a bragger. But I mean, or to talk a lot about the money you make, even though you do make a good amount. But I mean, I'll give you the opportunity to do that for like a minute here.
yeah, for sure. So, I grew up as a very creative person, a writer, somebody that like wanted to understand everything. I was a kid who always asked why. And now in my profession, I'm able to use that creativity to help people really match well to a market and to amplify their message and know what to say to who, to get customers super fast, and build arguments around their brand with big ideas that make them seem like the only solution. So
Yeah.
I've done that gotten the opportunity to do that for some really awesome gurus, I guess, as people would call them. And, starting over the last 12, 18 months or so to start doing that for myself. And, obviously helping the people that are building personal brands or personality brands, as we call them.
Yeah. I mean, you can name drop if you want. You don't have to. But yeah. So I'm curious, what kind of, because I want to dive into some of those topics you said, especially setting up arguments. I've heard you say that before, and it's super powerful because if you can get over that in someone's head, like that's the biggest thing, like their internal argument. But what kind of copywriting do you do just to give people a specific? I'm pretty sure you do like more to cold audiences, correct?
Yeah, so I started out there. So I started out where I did all copy to convert cold audiences onto a sale. And recently I've started doing more like some lukewarm or warm copy, and it's so much easier. Oh my gosh, like writing copy and converting cold traffic is by far the hardest thing to do. But now, so it's still my expertise is focusing on cold traffic and acquiring the cold traffic and turning them into customers. But it's the other stuff is really a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, so what is that component you talk about of arguments? Like, how would you break that down?
So I actually have a really simple formula over time because I started my own. I started training copywriters actually, so I had to teach them how to build arguments, and it's really based around one belief. So a lot of people, when they're writing their message or writing a copy or writing their own sales letter, they'll have too many things to make the customer believe before they buy. And when you're writing a sales letter, when you're writing a VSL, webinar, whatever, you only have one single belief. And if you have them believe that one thing, then they'll buy from you. Now, people have a couple struggles. First of all, they don't know that. They just ramble or create a lot of different things and a lot of different things that these people need to believe. Instead of one belief, you've probably heard of this as like a big idea, right? So this one belief, this one argument that if you win this argument, you get the customer. So people struggle with actually knowing they only need one thing. And then after, people know, okay, I need to focus on one thing. What is that one thing that I have to make people believe? The argument, the struggle is finding what that is. And I've been able to break it. It all comes down to research. It all comes down to how you've helped your clients in the past get a result. and what either false belief that you've overcome to help them get to that new belief or new opportunity. So it might seem like I'm rambling a little bit, but I guess the biggest takeaway is focus on one belief and one singular argument, like a lawyer might have. They'll focus on one thing and they'll win that one argument. If you study debates, the political debates, if you just look at a couple of them, you'll start to notice that they really focus on one thing each debate, just one thing. And if they make you believe that one thing, then they'll win the debate. Now, your job is when you're writing copy or as a marketer, you just want to win that debate, that one thing. And what you do is you'll acquire that customer for that one product.
Gotcha. Well, I have more of a personal question now. And what's up, everybody? Jenny, what's up, Parker? Woodward's here, #live. DeMarcus, what's up, guys? Appreciate the comments. I'm curious, all right, from a personal level, because you run a successful business agency. How do you I want to talk about this a little bit, the importance of networking and like getting big clients. Cause like, I think I've heard you say this before too. Like if you get the one right client, that could equal to 100 more clients,
right?
Because it's almost like the trickle down effect. So like how big has that been for you? And like, how have you kind of built on that?
That's my entire career. So, I just asked, right? So I literally cold email, big people, cold email, like really big people. So what I think of is like, who has really big authority over people who have really big authority? Not just like who has pretty good authority. Like I want to be like, reaching out to people who trained Russell Brunson, or reach out to people who have trained Ryan Dice, or reach out to people who are the tippy top of the pyramid. And I'll find a way to somehow start a conversation. And that's all I'll do. So I'll start the conversation. I've been able to build a skill set, however, that is very beneficial to a lot of these people, and they're always looking for. Obviously, copywriting is like a very good, important skill set to have. Sales is a really important skill set to have. If you have a specific skill set in marketing, if you have a specific skill set in coaching, what I always do is try to reach the tippy top. It helped me be flown all over the US for multiple different clients that all started out with just cold emailing, I guess, and starting the conversation. So I just actually was in Baltimore yesterday at Agora because I cold emailed Joe, and he replied back and ended up flying me down there. So,
so what did you say in the email that got him so interested to fly you out there?
It honestly wasn't my intention to start an actual client conversation. I was just really interested in what they were doing, or really interested on what they were teaching, or asked a question about an email that they had sent, and really I just wanted to spark a conversation, and was truly genuine in my curiosity. So that's in the past. However, if I was really direct, I would kind of like scan somebody's website and see all the mistakes that they were making, and write down a list of like all these things that they were doing wrong, and really all these things that they can implement right now, and ask for nothing back. Right. And that started my career, where I was like flown down to a mastermind in New York City. Because I did that, I was connected to multiple different gurus because of that email. If I believe that if somebody's starting from zero, they don't have money for ads, they don't have an audience, you just got to start reaching out to high level people that have what I would call like a trickle down effect. Whereas like all you need to do is close one, or like start a genuine relationship. You don't even have to have them as a client. All you need to do is have their back, or you have their back and they have yours. They don't even have to be your client. Like they have plenty of people underneath them that could be your client. So if they trust you, everybody underneath them will trust you.
Yeah. Trust is one of the most important things in business, dude. People just want to know, like, hey, if I pay you for this, will I get something in return? I think it's cool too. So You went 0 to 6 figures when you first started off, just cold, right? In
Yep,
like
cold
8
email. That's
months,
it. 8 months,
which
yeah.
pretty amazing. But I want you to talk a little bit about what you first did. I remember you saying you like to beat companies' controls and their results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do that now. So really, it was out of one of my clients' interest. They were like, "Hey, we have this control." So a control, basically, for everybody that doesn't know, is like a sales letter, a VSL webinar that's done super well over a period of time, and it the company either wants to increase the conversions on it, or it might be like slowly losing its effectiveness. Now, like a lot of people see this in webinars now, they're like, oh, my webinar does really, really well. And then it's like we're starting to lose results. So it started with this one client where they're like, hey, we have this control that's helped us make, it was over $1 million. But they're like, hey, we would love for you to beat it. So to beat the control, beat its conversions. So basically, I hate sharing this like secret because it's so simple, but the only thing you need to change oftentimes in to like revive a sales letter, webinar, or VSL is change the first 500 words. So if you change the first 500 words, and that's what's called the hook, you don't have to change the whole argument or the whole big idea. If something's converted to where it's making $1 million plus, I know that the big idea is relevant, it's unique, it's going to work. The close is good. I could look there, but generally it's the hook. So I need to find something more relevant, newer, more unique, more abstract to grab attention. And that's really the only job, is to grab attention and create interest. So some people on the web or on this live probably have heard a copywriting formula called attention, interest, desire, action. It's called AIDA, right? And the headline and the hook control A and I. So attention and interest. So if I can spark interest again, which seems to have been lost, I can beat those controls.
Gotcha. That's dope. That's dope. When so for you in specific, we talked about this before. Shifting from making a promise to like a mechanism. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so this is old school stuff, right? All the old school copywriters and marketers, Jay Abraham probably talks about this too, because he's back in the game now.
Yeah, I see. I've been listening to his podcast actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got clout for sure. So yeah, Jay Abraham, but I think it's from Eugene Schwartz, where basically is when a market becomes more saturated. So basically, when you're not like just if you make a promise and people are just flooding your way because the promise is so great, or the result that you're promising is so awesome. Like if I were to say, hey, I'm going to help you lose 20 pounds over the next 6 months, or help you lose that final 30 pounds or whatever, right? The promise doesn't really sell it in fitness anymore. So nearly everybody in the coaching space, with anybody with a personality brand, a way to bulletproof yourself from the future, a way to bulletproof yourself from a market that becomes more saturated with competition, is to create what we call a mechanism. So in the high ticket world, or in the coaching space or the consulting space, the mechanism is what a lot of people are seeing out there called, they call them methods, they call them systems, they call them formulas, whatever they want to call them, right? It's a proprietary way that you get results for your clients uniquely. And it's based on the psychology that if you show an audience a new opportunity that can get them a desire, your mechanism or your method has to be in their head as the only way that they can achieve that desire. And that works forever. So if the market's not saturated, if it's kind of saturated, if it's really saturated, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many competitors are in your niche. You will always have authority. You will always have a place if you can build a really unique method or system and argument around it to create basically this belief in your customers' heads that you're the only way that they're going to get that result.
Yeah, and I think the key word there is unique. Like they won't be able to see that anywhere else. So it looks like it's just new to them. You know, what? So I want to dive into a little bit to your framework for building authority online and how you kind of go through that process and what you've kind of built over the years to help people do that for themselves.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny because I'm a minimalist, so I always try to like really compress everything, all the noise and all the BS, and like I really think everybody that overcomplicates things does it for themselves, not for anybody else. So I really think it comes down to 2 or 3 things. I have a formula that has 6 steps really, but the 2 or 3 most important things I'll share right here. So the first thing, obviously, I just mentioned is the method. So the method, but a visual representation of a method. So when I try to help people create their method, when I'm not creating it myself, what I do is I'm like, all right, here's what you got to do. Think of the unique way that you solve the problem for your client, and then visualize it for me. So how do you visualize it? What's the first thing? What's the first shape that comes to mind? So is it a triangle? Is it a circle? Is it a Venn diagram? Is it or does that all just not make sense? And does it need to be a formula or algebraic, right? So it really comes down to 2 things to visualize your method. You either do it geometrically or algebraically. So geometrically is with shapes. A lot of these people out there that are creating Venn diagrams to create their methods, or they're using pyramids to create their methods, or they're using like the recycle symbol or circles or something, or pie charts to kind of explain their method. And explains that basically that visual representation, let's say we're using a Venn diagram, and the middle will be the result that you promise. And all of the external components, those 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever circles that make up that middle element right there, will be all the different components of your program or your course or the way you go about solving those problems. So you indirectly tie all the things that you do into the desire, the core benefit that they're looking for.
Well, what's super interesting? I'm reading a book. It's called Draw to Win. I don't know if you've read of it or heard of it. It talks about how some of the best ideas in history were ones that someone was able to easily draw it in a picture that anybody can understand, even a complicated topic. Like there was one guy who explained healthcare in like 10 pages of just like drawings, very simply. And he was invited on all the big networks. He was even invited by the White House to explain it. And he's not even a healthcare guy. He just explained it super simply in a process. And they talk about how 90% of the data we remember and respond to is visual. So if you can like make that visual component, like it's night and day. So,
what's this book called? Do you have to? What was it again?
Draw to Win. It talks about how most of the leaders and CEOs they use that for creativity and to explain ideas. Drawing.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was just recommended that book. It's actually really good. I'm like through a few chapters. So, okay, so I'm glad you said that and you confirmed that. Like if you could draw it out, and I like your, either geometrically or algebraically. Totally agree with that. That's big. So after that, what's next?
So the next step is creating an ideology. So an ideology is really like a sum of all beliefs. So a sum of all beliefs. So your job is to actually create kind of like a cult-like understanding or worldview that will help you win a customer. So you're actually the easiest way that I explain this to people is, all right, so Hitler created this ideology or concept that helped all the people underneath him follow him and follow everything that he did. Now, what I'm not saying is to be a narcissist, but it's an art and psychology of leading a group of people, is creating an ideology or a new way or new perception of the world around them and how to get everything that they've ever wanted. So that's the second step, is to create an ideology. So it's like a sum of all beliefs. Oftentimes, if somebody's like having a lot of hard time, like figuring out like, what is my ideology? Like, how do I create this like belief, or how do I create this like perception of the world so that my audience just grows on automate? What I say is, go ahead right now, take out sticky notes and write down all the false beliefs that your audience has about their problem, about the world around them, and about everything that they've desired in their entire life. And what you'll find is, after you're done writing down all those sticky notes, you'll find one that really connects with the message that you're trying to promote and connects with your big idea or your method or your audience, and in and of itself creates a culture around one single belief. So that's the second component, is the ideology.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. It's something people can identify with, community. Religion's the best example of that, but yeah, cool.
Yeah. So those are, I mean, I don't really want to overload everybody, because I found that people or my clients get a ton of results just following those two. So if they can do those two things, they will never, ever have problem being an authority online or taking over a niche.
I think 99% of people don't do those two things.
That's what I would focus on, just those two, and you're ahead of nearly everybody, like in all of online marketing.
Yeah. So, what is it like, dude, working with people who are like your mentors? Like, they're people who pay you, your clients. Like, what would you tell someone that's like?
It's pretty incredible to, like, I chose to have my direction to where, like, I want to start at the top and then move down. A lot of people like, all right, like, I'm not good enough. I don't have a good enough credentials. So I'm going to start at the bottom and try to work my way up. What I've done is, so I believe that the corporate ecosystem is all fucked up and upside down. And the way that people see themselves is climbing the corporate ladder. We've been given an opportunity in this digital era to actually flip the ladder upside down, to where we can actually leap all the way to the top. And then it's much easier looking down as you're going down than looking up. So what I'm saying is, it's a lot easier to just have a trickle down effect and grab all of the opportunity below you than it is to try to climb a ladder that many people can never scale their entire lives. So
it's the time and effort piece.
Exactly. So I'd prefer to get 10 no's and 1 yes. And that yes means I'm going to get a bunch of other yeses down the road than to get a yes from somebody that won't get me anything else beyond that.
Yeah. And I tell people too, like, having good clients and working with the right people is like insurance for your business, dude. Like, they're going to go nowhere, and they're also going to bring you other credibility, other people. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, here's the distinction. You can get a ton of people on your podcast, but if you get the right people with the right credibility on your podcast, you automatically move up the chain.
Yes, like Sean Kemp, guys. Cool. So, dude, what's going on in your world, man? What do you have planned here in the coming years?
Coming years. I'm not sure if I'm I always have one overarching goal. I'm a big thinker. I kind of think of things like from a 9,000 foot view than something like super close up. So I generally just have one overarching goal long term than, kind of like a 5-year plan or a couple year plan. And then those tasks that I have leading up to it will make
What is
themselves
that? Are
apparent.
you
Yeah,
willing to share it or?
yeah, for sure. So honestly, I want to build and sell businesses, build and sell brands online. And so basically build brands that are sellable, and like Dollar Shave Club, on that level. But obviously, I'd first prefer to connect and build my understanding of nearly everything that's going on and all the pieces, so I make the job a lot easier for myself.
Yeah, makes sense, dude. And I know you told me some of the things you have going on, which is really exciting and cool. So cool, man. I have a few rapid fire questions here. If that's cool
Sure.
with you.
Yeah.
Simple but powerful. Who's your biggest mentor, and what's the number one thing he's taught you?
Um, Biggest. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay,
I
yeah.
can't choose one.
Oh, Larissa says sick interview. Love it. Cool. Thanks, Larissa. What's your number one book of all time?
Um, about life or about career?
Anything, dude.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Cool. That's a classic. Do you still read that every once
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
while? Or?
It's a reference guide. It's not really a book that you read once, so it's good. It's good because you fall out of it every once in a while.
Nice. So what do most people say is different about you and what you do?
Um, I am able to connect 2 dots that no one's been able to connect before.
It's a good skill. Good skill to have, dude. And what are you like currently obsessed with, dude? Like in your business world or even your personal world?
Um, Really marketing the future of healthcare.
Ooh, okay. Like, are you actually like
I'm serious
work?
about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Are working with people right now
Yeah.
currently in that?
Yeah,
Okay,
totally. Like a lot of my direction has gone that, like, because I do want to be the amplifier of the future of healthcare, and the future of health and the future of health span and how people
when I
live.
think of healthcare, do you mean like white coat healthcare or like exercise or nutrition? Like what kind? Like just or just encompassing?
Just health in general. What I say is healthcare is it could be self developed. There's a lot of technology that will come out over the next 10 years that will reshape how we live each and every day. And there's going to be a lot of challenges and hurdles that come our way. There's a lot of things that have become less taboo. Like, for example, weed has become less taboo. Psilocybin and microdosing has become less taboo. There's a lot of things in the technology world. I've gotten PRP and stem cell injections. Those, like, people can't even fathom, the average Joe.
I remember now. You're like a biohacker, legit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. So
nice.
I know the health space super well, and I know there's a lot of ways that people don't have to suffer anymore, day in and day out, and actually bring those products to market is really something that I'm passionate about.
That's exciting. Yeah, there's definitely some of the biggest industries are going to come out of how healthcare changes in America for sure. Cool, man. I appreciate you dropping all the knowledge, sharing everything. If you guys like this interview, give me a hashtag live below. Thanks, Sean,
Of
or
course.
hashtag value, actually, and hashtag live. Just drop as many hashtags as you want. Don't even put a word after it. Just do hashtags. And cool, man. I'll let you know when this is out. Is there any place you want people to follow you or to get anything that you have, etc.?
Yeah, they can go to drframe.com if they want to get the full 6-step framework.
Drframe.com.
Uh, it's framed with a D. So
Framed with a D.
Yep, Dr. Framed. Yep.
Boom. Cool. Awesome. Appreciate you guys hopping on, and I'll end the broadcast here. Thank you.
Sweet.